Zoom chat and we will get you. Okay, so we've got, I think, uh, 2 people who raised their hands. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. I think it was Vandana Taksali. I have asked you to unmute and you can go ahead with your announcement.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So we're going to be launching Artcryption in a few months. We already have some exciting high-profile artists in the traditional space. Yeah, and you know, we're just really super excited about it. We've been working on it for the last couple of years at least, and yeah, it's exciting to kind of just finally get it going. The difference between our platform and other platforms is looking at also IP protection and not just the creation of an NFT, but also looking at all the wonderful things it can do from in terms of legal protections as well, like monitoring for infringements and you know, creating an alternative place for copyright protection, having smart contracts to help with licensing. So yeah, so that's our announcement.
Awesome, thank you so much. If there's any further details, how can people reach out to you, or do you have a website which you can share in the chat?
Yes, I have a website, artcryption.com. The new website will be launching though in a few months. And they can also reach me at Vandana at Artcryption, and I'll put my email and website in the chat.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for your community announcement. Best of luck.
Thank you.
We've got JT Freeman.
Hi.
Go ahead. Hey.
Yeah, so just about 2 weeks ago, we launched Jungle. It's a new NFT marketplace on top of Bitcoin Cash. It's still a very new MVP stage, but pretty exciting. Some artists are coming on board now, and we are building out a new NFT creator that should allow a wide range of different content to be uploaded and tokenized. So that's coming out in the next few weeks, not a specific date, but very soon. So
thank you so much for sharing that announcement.
Thank you.
Is there also a website or somewhere someone can, if anyone needs to get a hold of you, that they can reach out?
Yep. So jungle.net. It has 2 U's. That's the easiest way. You can find it on Twitter and Telegram as well.
Okay, sounds great. Is there anyone else who would like to make any community announcements? Just a reminder, if you could raise your hand so I can find you. And
okay, can I make one?
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Okay, so again, I'd like to thank everyone for actually coming out to our NFT one. We keep getting bigger and better. The community is actually getting bigger and better. Bitcoin Bay is not only in Toronto, but we're going North America and going global. So just to give everybody a heads up what our next meetup is. In 2 weeks, we have a meetup on taxes and crypto. Reason, it's anybody that knows that we actually planned our calendar, first quarter calendar in January. So we had the DeFi 2 weeks ago. Like all our topics within this quarter has been bang on with what's happening or the trend. So I'm happy about that. So we're doing taxes in 2 weeks, and basically we're going to look at the tax situation for crypto in Canada and the US. So if you're in the crypto space, you're wondering how tax will be implicated or implied by taxes, it's a good one to join. 2 weeks from that, which we just kind of closed the deal on that, is we'll have Anthony D'Orio, one of the co-founders of Ethereum, and also the founder of Decentral and Jack's Wallet on a fireside chat. So that's something to look out for. And so that's it. And also Bitcoin Bay is growing. So if you want to volunteer or help us build a community or work on a project, you can reach out to any of the core team members. You'll see our picture. Gaurav will show that. And just reach out to us and we'll see how we can work together. If you're a company and you want to test out your use case, or you have a project and you need some expertise on, reach out to us. We should be able to help you there as well. Or if we can directly, we'll get you somebody to help you. Now I'm going to be moderating the panel, so I'm hoping everybody's here. I think most of them are. And publicly, I'd like to thank the panelists for taking the time. And depending on where you are, today is a nice, gorgeous day to join us at 6 o'clock to share what you know and your experiences in the NFT and blockchain crypto space. So that is my community announcement. Gaurav, do you want to add anything? Or anybody from Bitcoin Bay want to add anything to that?
I'll talk a little bit about Bitcoin Bay after the community announcements. I think I've got two more people who have raised their hands. And funny enough, we've got a CPA, Sean, who's going to ask a question. So I'm wondering if it has to do anything with the crypto taxes, but let's see what he has to say.
My question does not, unfortunately. My initial question was really just surrounding are the announcements, because this is my first time joining the session. So greetings, everyone. What I wanted to know were the announcements specific to crypto, to Bitcoin, because I have a product that's not related to Bitcoin, but it's an interesting project and proposal.
Okay, so if you're looking to speak with the Bitcoin Bay team regarding that project, you can shoot us an email at info@bitcoinbay, or you could reach out to one of myself, Leo, who's on the camera. We've also got Alwyn and Jerry, who will be in this chat. You can reach out to one of us, and we can discuss that further in detail after the meetup.
So, amazing.
Also, I guess if the project doesn't have to be crypto based, but if you want to share part of the community, if you want to share with the community what you're doing, it doesn't have to Bitcoin based, but if it touches on blockchain or crypto, it's great. Just share. Again, it's for us to know and get to know everybody in the community and see what they're doing, because you never know who in the community might be looking at your skill set or so, feel free.
It has some synergies. Really what the project is up to is helping companies and business owners launch, relaunch, and helping them to assist with this current climate that we're navigating with the pandemic and the various restrictions, and really all about creating roadmaps, detailed roadmaps, really looking at products, customer segments, locations, supply chain, etc. So what I think I'm going to do, rather than dive deep into it, I'll connect with you guys. If your details are in the chat, let me connect with you guys offline, and then maybe I can kind of tailor my announcement to the group and to make sure I'm hitting the key touch points that would have the most relevance and impact to the group.
Perfect. Next,
thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we're always willing to give people opportunities to speak. We've got another person who's got a question. His name is Yan Miranda. So I'm just gonna ask him to lower the hand and ask to unmute if he hasn't done so. Yan, go ahead with your community announcement, sorry.
You're muted there. Mute. Sorry. Yeah, Jan Miranda. I've been in the crypto space for a while. I know you guys, and I've been working with a good friend of mine here, Navid Fard. He's an artist, and we just launched his website with links to NFTs, and the website is navidfard.art. So I don't know, later on, we're interested to hear about what you guys are talking about NFTs, and maybe we can add to some of the discussion a little bit later.
Yeah, for sure. We will give, we'll probably have a open networking session after where we'll have the NFT conversation going. So it'd be great to get your perspective on like what you guys have been working on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jan. Is there anything else you guys would like to add?
Yeah, there's a lot of things involved with NFTs. A lot of setup on the website side and on the smart contract and stuff. But it's pretty fun. Okay.
All right. Well, we look forward to it, and we'll catch you guys later. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Anybody else? Gaurav? Any hands?
I don't see any hands.
Okay,
Maybe
so
we
let's
can make a last call for hands.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Last call also. If you are an accountant that you're in the crypto space and you understand blockchain crypto, reach out to me so that I can see how I can work you in onto the crypto and taxes, which is in 2 weeks from now. I think that should be a good one. So just reach out to me. I apologize for the dog.
Maybe he has a community announcement, he or she.
Oh.
All right. Last call for community announcements. All right. So I guess if I don't see anybody else, what we're going to do is going to talk a little about what Bitcoin Bay does and what we're up to currently in the space. So just a little bit about Bitcoin Bay. Sorry about that. So we are building the world's blockchain ecosystem starting here in Toronto. We've got a team who's working on this mission currently, where we have been the longest running blockchain community and blockchain consultancy in Canada. Our mission simply is to grow the blockchain ecosystem globally, starting from our home base in Canada. We want everyone to benefit from this ever so growing space, whether it's crypto, blockchain, NFT, whatever is being thrown into space. We want people to continue to build onto tech and continue to advance this technology to be the potential it has. Just a heads up, we are live. This video is being live streamed actually on YouTube and will be uploaded onto YouTube after. So just wanted to give you guys a heads up that any conversation that we're having in here, let's just be respectful. Let's be nice to each other. Wherever you are from any part of the world, represent the blockchain and crypto space in a great and positive way. And that way it can be displayed on YouTube so that everyone can see it. We are also as a team on Bitcoin, on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. We've got WhatsApp channels, Signal, Telegram. If you want to continue the conversation, you can reach out to any of myself, Leo, Jerry, Alwyn. They will be gladly to add you guys into those groups. So if you want to know more about the space, whether you're a first timer, you haven't joined this group chats already, or haven't followed us on any of our social media channel, please use this time to find us and follow us and see what we're up to. Just wanted to give a big shout out to one of our great supporters, Louis B. She runs an OTC Bitcoin desk in Toronto, Ontario, located at 279 Spadina Avenue. So if you're looking to do a first over-the-counter transaction with Bitcoin, we recommend you reach out to her. She's great. She's been helping out a lot of people in the Toronto community buy Bitcoin. If you're not from the Toronto region, you're outside of it, reach out to us. We can find you people within our network around the world. If you're looking
Gaurav, I think you're muted. So unmute yourself, please, and thank you. There you go.
So if you are looking to, sorry, I kind of just got off track there, but if you are looking to buy Bitcoin in your region around the world, reach out to us and we will find that person for you and get you connected with them right away. So thank you, Louis B, for sponsoring their meetups. Something a little bit about what Leo touched on before with, if you've got an idea within the space and you're looking to build upon it, we've helped out many clients and companies in the past with their product development, building a decentralized application, working with clients on their cryptocurrency trading strategy, ideation assessments, helping companies with getting connected with the right investors within the space. We've got a huge crypto investor network within the city, and it continues to keep growing. So if you've got an idea or you've got a project that's in the works, but you need some sort of the right fundraising, and you're looking for an investor to invest in that project, give us a shout. We've got the right network and team to get you in touch with, in front of the right people, and to get that project to its next potential and level up. We've also helped a lot of small businesses with their merchant adoption for accepting crypto. So if you're a small business owner and you're looking to integrate crypto into your e-commerce business or physical store, feel free to reach out to us. We can help you out with that. We've got the team. You guys have already heard from Leo. He's one of the co-founders at Bitcoin Bay. Myself, my name is Gaurav. I'm doing the business operations currently. We've got Antoine, who's another co-founder. We've got Alwyn, who's another co-founder in the team, and Jerry Kian, who's one of the other co-founders. This is the core team here at Bitcoin Bay. We've already gone through the community announcements, so my apologies. This is just a repeating slide. And now we can get started with the presentation. So without further ado, I'm going to have Leo, who's our moderator for this evening, get our presenters ready to get into the deep dive of NFT. So let's go.
So I'm hoping Nate is here. Nate, are you here? I know it's...
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Next one is Snacks. Why not? I think that's how I say it. You here, sir? I know he's here. Snacks. Why not? Or Sam, whichever one you want to go by.
Hey, sorry, I was out the window.
Not a problem, as long as you didn't go all the way out the window.
Yeah, I got a balcony. It's okay. Hey, everybody.
Yes. So we have Sandeep.
Hello.
Well. Yes, perfect. And everybody, Sandeep is joining us from India. So time difference, you know what? I do appreciate people that take their time to actually share knowledge. And we have JT Beeman as well.
Hello. Hey.
Okay, and Joey, I don't know if Joey's here, but if he's not, we miss him and we'll let him know that he's missed the fun. So at this point, I'm going to kind of, I usually shoot through the bio of everybody. So I'm just going to shoot through the bio so everybody knows who's on here. So Nate is an artist, designer, developer, speaker, streamer, event organizer, activist, gamer, and all around good guy nerd. Co-founder of Collectibles platform Shelf Life, blockchain R&D lab, Goodbit Technologies, and founder of the futurist art and tech organization Lifeform. In 2014, before the launch of the Ethereum mainnet, his team took second place at the first ever official Ethereum hackathon with an IoT project that was mentioned by name in the Canadian Senate by Andreas Antonopoulos as an example of unforeseen applications of blockchain technology. Having spent the last few years consulting in blockchain product design, running a DIY music venue, organizing art events and hackathons, and making music and art, Nate is excited to weave all of his experience into products and bridge the world of the art and the decentralized technology. I know Nate very well, and as well as I can. Anyways, he comes to the office every now and then, and I always bother him because he's more creative than I am. So Nate, thank you very much. And our next is Snacks. Basically, I asked Sam to give me an intro, and this is what it wrote. I think it was unique. It says, does a lot of stuff. So his intro is, it does a lot of stuff. And it's, if you want to see his website, go to http://step.company. And they raised $500,000 in 5 hours to throw a pizza party by selling NFT reservations. So in 5 hours, 500K, likely USD, to raise NFT reservations. So, and then we have Sandeep. Sandeep has held positions as such as CEO, head of tech, advisors at startups, and has handled them from inception to market. While he has held management positions, he is still hands-on with code and actively involved in architecture and design decision. He's a firm believer of frugal marketing methods that can help early-stage companies achieve initial scale. His recent role is to head business development for Tezos India Foundation and co-founder of Calamite. I think that's what it says. And JT already told you a bit about what he's doing, but I'll touch on it, which is creator of Wofu Faucet, co-creator of Jungle NFT Market, creator of the SLP Explorer, co-founder of SLP Foundation, and Fountainhead.cash Dev Services. So just to let you know the power of the people that we have on today, and they have an idea of how I want the conversation to proceed. So gentlemen, we'll start off with Nate. Can you tell us how you got into the crypto blockchain space and what intrigued you about it? And then that question also goes to the other panelists as well. Nate, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was muted.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess it was 2013, and I had just moved back from New York City, working for a tech startup there in the gamification space, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my time. I had a lot of spare time as sort of a difficult family experience. I was going through a tragic loss, and Bitcoin occupied my mind. So, when you need something to just take up your time, Bitcoin is one of those bottomless pits. So I started going to the Bitcoin meetups in Toronto, met Anthony, met Vitalik, met everybody kind of when we were all just people in a room. And then things kind of got crazy from there. Ethereum launched. I was at the hackathon for that. And I've kind of been watching ever since, and started a company in 2014 that specifically built experimental products in this space because I saw it as, well, what it is, which is just the destination for everything that we do. Everything needs to move into a trustless space that we can trust. And that's how we'll build the digital future. So just kind of scouting out that location and being like, how do we build all this stuff? And realizing that it was too early for really user-friendly experiences. So I started focusing on all the area outside of crypto, and that's kind of, or at least tangentially connected. So that I would say that's the beginning. That's the actual beginning. That first year that culminated in starting Good Bit Technologies, just meeting everybody, talking, having those late night conversations. And yeah,
cool.
Wouldn't have guessed it would have got to where we are today with NFTs and everything. So
fair enough. Sandeep, yourself, sir?
Yeah, so I started my journey with data warehousing and business intelligence a long time back. I was working in data mining, and then long story short, discovered blockchain in 2016 at the time when Ethereum had its first version out, and Lisk was one of the first usable proof of stake networks. So forked Lisk tried to do a product out of that for remittances and gifting. Took a 2-year break from 2018 to 20 for a personal reason. Was trading all the time at the time, and then got back into the thick of things by joining Tezos India Foundation to head their BD. Started in August last year, and fell in love with what they've been doing at Tezos in the last 1 year, and I saw a lot of opportunities there. So NFT marketplace was just one of the opportunities that I think was ripe for the taking, given Ethereum gas fees. So that's something that we started with, to say that, why can't you mint cheaper? right? And then have a great ROI for both the creator and the collector. But having said that, I think in the last 1 month, we've seen a lot of people not talking about gas fees anymore, but talking about clean NFTs. And that's kind of helped us kind of get a lot of artists move over from Ethereum onto Tezos now. So we are launching tomorrow on the mainnet. So we had a testnet community review for the last 2 weeks. No, sorry, about a week and a half. And then we got some feedback. And we have a lot of artists now come over from Rarible, Known Origin, Foundation, Super Rare. They've signed up with us. So it is really, really heartening to see that we're getting this kind of a response. We didn't expect this.
Nice. JT, sir.
Hey. Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks so much for inviting me here, first off. So my introduction into Bitcoin was coming across the Bitcoin white paper on Slashdot. And I remember it really clearly because I read it like 10 times in a row. And I was just super excited. At the time, and still, I was really interested in thinking about, there's these problems, right? Like worldwide war. I mean, it seems like an unsolvable problem, but a lot of that you can really trace its roots to an economic problem, and there's the wrong incentives in place that allow certain terrible things to be profitable. And I saw with Bitcoin that this is a solution to not just improving trade, improving worldwide trade, which is another major problem. There's places all over the world where if people could interact in the global economy, those places would be way more free and way more prosperous, but also for reducing war. And it's like, this is this is the solution, right? There's something here, and it's just so cool to see. And I had experience with software development, and just looking at it and seeing, hey, this can work. This can work on a giant scale, and so that's what really got me excited off the bat. As time went on, I lost a lot of that excitement. I thought things were not going in the right direction for a few years, and I got really excited again when I saw Bitcoin Cash, because it's this group of people who had the same idea, like let's revolutionize trade worldwide, right? And yeah, so right off the bat with that, I was like, hey, I didn't do as much with this before as maybe I should have. So this is sort of time to get way more involved. My first real project with that was this kind of funny Minecraft like game called Craft.cash, and it was mostly a toy. But my thought with it was, if we want more people to be using cryptocurrency, we need to make it fun. A lot of people don't care about these sort of abstract concepts. They want, they'll use something if it's fun. And NFTs is that same idea. There's so much fun in this space. People love it. They love interacting with it, and that's sort of my transition into getting really excited about NFTs from a more currency perspective. So thank you.
All right, Sam.
So I learned about Bitcoin. I had dropped out of college. I was very depressed. I was living in my buddy's grow house. I didn't have a stake, and I was just spending a lot of time online. I was following LulzSec with a lot of glee. If you remember them hacking Sony, so this was like May 2011, and then they started accepting donations in Bitcoin in June or so. And so I was like, "What is this?" And I had studied math, so I pretty much grokked it quickly and started transferring money through all manner of weird ways to get to Mt. Gox. And when I moved back to Philly, I organized some Bitcoin meetups, a lot of Bitcoin meetups. We used to meet in 30th Street Station outside the Pizza Hut. We would just pull up all the tables together and it was pretty punk, it was pretty funny. And one of my organizers there, I had the stroke of luck. He brought me to the Rare AF Digital Art Festival in January of 2018. So if you saw the documentary Feels Good Man about Pepe, The Rare Pepe auction, that's in that documentary. You can actually see me in the crowd in the background. And so I got, a tremendous introduction to NFTs because I didn't know about them. And I got there and I saw Matt Hall, Bea from Dada, the guys from Decentraland, Joe Looney from Rare Pepe's, got to have beers with these people, talk to them. So I was immediately bought in. I went home and bought a bunch of CryptoPunks and started working on a Tulip NFT, which we're still working on. And but I started working on pieces about a month ago. So yeah.
And 500K in 5 hours. Wow. We all know the hype that we've been hearing on the news about NFTs, 69 million sold and automatically cashed out. Everybody and their mama is trying to actually get on the NFT bandwagon. But as innovators in the space, what do you see? What's the problem do you see NFT solving? As well as how are you helping solve that problem? Anyone can go first. Sam, you want to go first or JT?
Sure. I think NFTs solve a really important problem, which is that there's no ownership or there's no secondary layer in digital networks. So we see that most of our influencers, tastemakers, they have to resort to pretty unfortunate modes and methods to make their living. So you see like your Logan Pauls of the world, doing boxing matches and just churning out YouTube content that's not always the most tasteful. So and I think NFTs solve a lot of problems. I would say NFTs are to objects as DAOs are to corporations. So that's the future that we're living in and that we're building. But in the short term, NFTs allow the secondary layer of value generators who find the good content to actually get cut in. And it doesn't even have to be monetary. It can just be badges to say I was there when, which is powerful because we live in the age of information.
JT?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess for me, it's relatively recent that NFTs sort of really clicked for me. And I think there's two major points that I see where it brings a really big benefit. One is in gaming and in virtual spaces. People have these objects that they use for games, and they're spending their real life on it, and they're spending it with other people, and people have these great memories of playing together and doing all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, that's just gone. And we see this major shift to microtransactions in games, and I think people want to own items, and they want to keep that as part of their history. And that's sort of the same thing that I think is really the big part with art and other creative spaces. When someone's buying a painting, for example, they don't really care about the colors necessarily, right? You can just go online and look at whatever painting, and that's fine. But what people really want is the history with it, and they want the story. And this is why the prices for these things can be so high. There's so much history with it. And so I think from both sides there, it'd be really cool if all of this time that people are spending right now isn't lost to history, and that can be passed down. It might be kind of a crazy thought, but imagine having your grandfather's really modded out NFT gun or something from some game. Like, that would be kind of cool. But I think there's going to be a lot more of that. All of that stuff's still relatively new. But yes, I think that's sort of the core thing is let's use the same properties of cryptocurrency, which is this sort of timestamp server. It stores information over time. And hey, wait, this actually works really well for history as well. So that's what I see as the big side for improving things.
Yeah.
Sandeep?
Yeah, so NFTs, I think once you open your mind up to it, right? Most people think of NFTs right now as just digital art mainly. But if you just open your mind to it, anything that's not a currency or not a stock or not an equity or anything which is fungible is essentially an NFT, right? So I think while we're starting with this whole movement of digital art being the forerunner, I think we will probably see in 2021 a lot of traditional assets go into NFT space. And then I think the next big thing post that would be to fractionalize them and make it fungible on the blockchain. So I think there's a huge, huge potential, and we're just getting started. So, you know, it's best if some of us could get that foot in the door, stay relevant, and then I think we're in it for the really long run. So most objects today are non-fungibles, even in the traditional sense. So I think that's the potential that NFTs offer.
So you mentioned that the fungibility or remove the fungibility, doesn't that defeat the purpose of having a non-fungible asset? I.e., because coins are traditionally fungible, Bitcoin is fungible and is divisible, but NFT as an art form, making it fungible basically makes it just like another token. Really,
essentially, sorry.
I mean, you're removing the uniqueness of the value proposition.
Not really. If you have the NFT as the underlying, you can still have fractions of it that represent the underlying, right? Okay. So that makes it really powerful. So you can essentially have shares on a bottle of whiskey or shares on a luxury watch. I mean, that really represents the underlying, which is NFT, which is still a token, right? And then anybody who has all of the shares can essentially then transfer the ownership. So the concepts that will come out probably by the end of 2021 is just going to build on top of what we're building as foundation right now.
Okay. Nate, and what do you have to add to that? Do you have anything to
totally
add to
that? Well, I think as touching on everything that everybody said, but especially Sandeep hit on the point that it's starting with art. Art is definitely the first mainstream application. But I mean, looking back to like 2013, 2014, there was the Master Protocol and Mastercoin and colored coins in general as a concept that were, people were talking. Well, we'll make a house into a colored coin. We'll make a car into a colored coin, and everybody. It was hard for people to wrap their heads around it, but we were already going in this direction. It wasn't until CryptoKitties that was like that was a moment that changed things, where a model was established, and a touch point into the like consciousness of the internet. Of course, it was cats, and that. So to me, that's one piece of the story. But where things go from here is the beyond art, beyond traditional collectibles, beyond even gaming, into potentially really esoteric, to the point where none of these things are differentiated. They're all just concepts that we can be invested in, own a piece of, and receive streaming something from it. So to like accentuate this point, actually, this weekend we just did a hackathon, the ETH Global Hackathon, and like my background in experimental product design, like I love going to hackathons. So went and we made this thing called Funk, right? And this here, actually, if I do this, ignore the X-Wing. But yeah, if I show you this, so we've got this application. I can connect my wallet. I can select an NFT from my wallet that's been detected. There you go, rare pizza. Some people like rare pizzas. And that's a spicy one, okay? Actually, we can find out about it. It's got the sweetest sauce doused in extra virgin olive oil or strawberries, I don't know. So this guy has this metadata. It's being read off the blockchain. We can inspect it, that's cool. But this is where I want people to like really understand what an NFT is, or at least start to like expand all of our understanding, right? Is, okay, I have the NFT. What can I do with it? NFTs are things they're code, they're native to the internet and to applications. You can build anything that can be interoperable with an NFT, and the things that could be interoperable with an NFT that exists today, that's just a dumb NFT, is infinitely expandable or extendable into the future. So a CryptoPunk could actually be a full character in a video game in the future or TV show. And that might be something that you want to collect. Its value may increase. That's a cultural application, of course. We can destroy it. Maybe the people who own an NFT can chat with each other, right? It's a unique token that will allow you to communicate, be part of a group. You can trade them one to many, but you could lease it out. You could collateralize it. You could license it. You could, every DeFi project that's in existence could be plugged into something like this, an interface like this. And you can just make this thing do stuff. So the idea is, what can your NFT do? That question is like almost pointless today. No NFTs can do anything. And in the future, that's the only thing that matters. So just a way to expand our minds, ignore the X-Wing, it just happens, you know? It's part of my setup. Okay. But that's basically my ideas on this.
Actually, interesting that you brought that up. Was it a year ago or 2 years ago? We had Richard Moore, the author of Ether.js, and he presented Takoyaki? And it was his version of CryptoKitties in a sense, to Meetup. And what happens is that with his application, you can actually, it grows. The NFT kind of grows. You feed it and whatnot, and actually evolves. So to me, it was actually an interesting concept, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't get the application of it. And I still kind of don't get the application of NFTs with digital art. And when I get the blockchain aspect, the crypto aspect of, but the idea of I create a digital art, I tag it to a token, but that same digital art can be copied. The only thing that can't be copied is the metadata. So again, most of us are trying to figure out, is this really worth the effort? And what industries would NFTs revolutionize besides the standard gaming and art? We see revolutionizing music, you know, like Nate mentioned DeFi or interoperability. Like, who wants to take that stab at it? See where that will go.
I think there's a room for it in every industry. Go for it, Sandeep.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the first and foremost ones will be, for example, I mean, let's take an example. Every creator right now is tied to a platform, for example, YouTube. But if you look at it, a video is still an NFT, right? In its purest form. That's content created by an entity or a person. What if you put it on a price discovery curve, right? And have tickets being sold on that, right? So now you're essentially then making this entire NFT completely, you know, if you look at NFT, what do we have today from a pricing discovery mechanism? Except for listing and auctions, nothing much, right? But if you take the DeFi concepts and start putting them onto NFTs and putting them onto price discovery curves, you have very, very powerful concepts coming out of non-fungible tokens. Now, this can be then extended to anything for that matter, any industry, any asset, right, which is non-fungible.
Anyone else? JT, Nate, do you guys want to chime in on this or?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to mention, yeah, I think as far as what it can do as far as sort of revitalizing the creative fields, I think is massive, and people are just sort of seeing it. It might be a little bit of, you know, speculation in some parts, but yeah, I think really, you know, I haven't bought really any music for years, but I can easily see myself buying a song. Like this is the first song, and there's stuff like that where it's just so cool, and there's so much more to explore, and yeah, it just requires a lot more people to sort of get it, I guess, for that to happen. So I just wanted to add that in.
Yeah, I think I'd like to continue on that, because that's actually where my mind was going. It's for the last 3.5 years, actually, if I think about the dates, I've been spending a lot of time with artists. Like, all of my time was running a venue, making art, and then occasionally consulting on like blockchain products and UX or brand and stuff like that. And when working with artists and when living in that world, it's like nobody understands this stuff. The distance between the creatives out there who will make NFTs as we understand them when it comes to art, collectibles, music, all media, the creatives who make the media, we really need those people to come in and understand it, not just benefit from it. Right now, there's a lot of on-ramps to help people benefit from NFTs through like selling their works or whatever. Like, but what we need is we need them to understand it, because when they understand it, they can start to make things that are really native to what this technology enables. Right? They're making their old stuff with the new stuff, and we need them to make the new stuff. What is the media that is native to this medium? That's where we need to get to, and they need to understand it, because those are the creative people. So I've just been banging my head on that wall for the last 2.5 years, so I'm gonna tell you it's hard. But
yeah, people come in and they think, oh my gosh, this is a new thing for me to sell. And it's like, no, this is a new way for you to build.
Exactly. That mindset needs to switch as fast as possible. The people who start making things that are native to NFTs, creative works that are native to NFTs, we're talking like things that evolve, right? Like if Pokemon was created in 2021, it would be a natural NFT system, right? You would bootstrap it off of the NFTs. Those would be the Pokemon. Then you would take those funds and you would start to create media that makes those characters come to life. The TV show would be like a secondary thing, and it would introduce new characters that would be released as NFTs. Then you'd release a game where there's all interoperable. Then you'd see that item that you just got in the game on the TV show, and then maybe you want to own it makes even more sense as an NFT. But the question is, what would Pokemon look like if they understood NFTs deeply in a way that we don't yet? Like, what does it really mean? Is it it's a show where all the viewers are our stakeholders, and actually are like it goes even further than just the collectibles. It goes to the whole crypto and DeFi space. I think it goes to a point where like people are just getting rich for watching cool things that they think that they love, you know, or like, and like, but even weirder than that. So I'm really excited to get the creative weirdos to understand.
All right.
Those are going to be the people who run it.
You brought up an interesting point, is the money aspect of it, getting rich. And right now, the value of certain NFTs have raised the eye, and also DeFi space has raised the eye of regulators and sometimes law enforcement, because it seems like a plausible way to launder. Right? So from your perspective, and we're dealing with this as well as we deal with clients that want to get into the NFT space on a technical aspect, how do you see governments and regulators, any one of you, actually start to actually deal with this technology and the implications from how this technology can go from the creative side, the art, music, to just the general business side of it, i.e. DeFi and whatnot? Who wants to take that? Sandeep, want to go first?
So I think truly I don't really have an answer, because I don't think we still don't understand it, right? I mean, we ourselves are trying to grasp this whole concept, not just NFTs, but DeFi in general. I think DeFi in itself has just put its foundations right now. And then I think there's a lot to build there. And we still don't understand the whole ramifications of, staking, farming, and what are the implications of that from a financial standpoint. So I think if we still don't understand it, I think it's going to be really hard for regulators to even understand it. I don't think at least from my standpoint, it's very difficult to answer that question right now.
So for regulators, not because most of us that are in this space are still trying to figure it out. Sometimes the fear that comes about is that a regulator that doesn't even play in that space might actually try to put rules and try to stifle innovation. So how, as a space or as industry leaders, what would you tell us? We have a few regulators on this Zoom. What would you tell them about NFTs and the innovations and how they should treat NFTs in general?
I think that's a battle that we're trying to fight here a lot in India right now, right? So we see a lot of news from India right now saying that there's going to be a ban. There's going to be they're going to give holders some time to liquidate their positions before they bring in regulations. The regulation really isn't a regulation, but it's more a ban, right? And what I think is there is a huge gap in understanding of what crypto natives or people in crypto who've been in this space for quite some time understand about crypto, and people who are the regulators who are trying to bring in some regulation. Most times there is a huge knowledge gap, and then the only thing we could do is to make sure that they understand this entire space, right? I mean, we're trying hard in India to kind of make sure that they do understand that they really can't ban a decentralized system, right? I mean, it's very difficult to do that, right? How would you ban such a thing? Now, that is something that until they do understand that you really can't ban, and then how do you regulate this? If they put in that effort, I think that's when the whole the knowledge gap kind of closes down, and that's like an ongoing thing. I think we're going to fight this for years to come.
JT, anything want to add to that?
Yeah. So I think the really important question with this is sort of a reframing of it. Are the current anti-money laundering procedures and laws effective? So far, I haven't seen any evidence. And there's just recently a paper that I read where they came to the conclusion of it had less than a 0.1% impact on criminal fund activity. So I think before people in the crypto space are obliged to think about this, I think we should be demanding that governments prove the effectiveness of these measures in the first place. So far, it seems like it's not used actually as a method to really have any impact on crime, but more or less just cause everyone a bunch of hassle and a lot of other trouble. So I think almost any by any reasonable aspect, if that number is anywhere close to accurate, we should be eliminating and replacing all of those laws because they just don't work.
Yeah, that's what I would say to a regulator is learn to code. Like,
code is law.
Code is law. It's definitely the only law that will matter on some time horizon. And I don't know what you might have a different opinion of when that is, but that is it. So if you think that the world can run in a more efficient way or a more fair way or in a way that can protect people in ways that they certainly need to be protected, because this technology is very unforgiving, for example, then the way to implement those desires is to learn how to code and build something, and learn about standards, learn about protocols, and implement your ideas that way, because then they can be universal. They're not bounded by state lines. They're really just, if your regulation is a regulation that is utilized in the future, it is utilized because it is the best. So, get coding.
Yeah, I can say from recent experience with the pizza thing, we made, everyone's afraid of liability, and we want to be a DAO, but most of the DAOs that exist in the space are not actually DAOs. Like, they're not really decentralized. So there's this concept of a wrapped DAO, which is emerging in the in the smart belt, I guess, in the United States, which I'd say is like Wyoming and Colorado. So we incorporated as an LLC in Wyoming before we started to accept funds into our contract, which I think is ludicrous. But I gotta be frank, but that is what we did because of fears amongst maybe some of the less crypto native of the team about liability. But we don't actually want our corporate entity to have any set. It's really just a cardboard cutout that we have there to interface with the existing financial system, but we really would, and the legislative system, but we really just want to have our DAO control things, which also is, in design, because the DAO platforms aren't phenomenal yet.
I think a lot of the regulators, I mean, while we have a lot of knowledge gap, some of them, like, for example, Singapore, Monetary Authority of Singapore, have been running some really good sandboxes, right? I mean, they take the time to understand what's happening, and then they give it a fair chance. I think that's some jurisdictions have been pretty forthcoming and very progressive in that stance, right? So, but then, yes, like all of you guys said, there is a huge knowledge gap. I think it's mostly fear, which we all live with today, because when you invest a lot of time and effort into something that you're building, it's just one law that can come and take you down.
All right, so next thing is, I think the fun part everybody's wanting me to ask about is, I'm not a techie. I am, but I'm going with the premise I'm not a techie. I'm an artist. Which platform should I go to create my NFT? What's the easiest way to onboard myself and my art or my creativity to do an NFT? Which platform are you guys jazzed about? Sandeep, start first.
I think it won't be a fair question to me because we're launching tomorrow.
That's why I asked. I want you to go first. Be biased.
Yeah, I would always say Calamin.io tomorrow. It would be the best platform to launch your NFTs, clean NFTs.
So tomorrow is your launch. Today, what
Yes.
about today?
Yeah, so it's actually 3:30 p.m. UTC on Tuesday. So yeah, so today, really.
So for today, what's okay, fair enough. JT? Are you there, JT? Yep.
Yeah, sorry, I clicked the wrong button. Yeah, so likewise, I have the Jungle Marketplace. From the perspective of someone who doesn't have tech knowledge, I would not recommend it at this point. To actually get your images onto it right now is a bit of a hassle, and so we're building a NFT creator that's going to make all of that better. But right at the moment, there's a bit of a guide you have to follow, and I think it's hard for artists. That being said, if we can scoot forward a week or two into the future, yeah, what I really like about it is we're basically able to do everything instantly. So there's no waiting for blocks, even though it's on Bitcoin Cash. We designed it so that it can all use zero confirmation, which is really cool. So we can do like every action you can do in like a second. On top of that, the fees are quite low. And yeah, people have been really excited about it. People in Bitcoin Cash love that there's NFTs actually coming to it. So it's a relatively new for that cryptocurrency, and so there's been just a lot of excitement. So I think yeah, once the user interface is a little bit improved, yeah, I think it's a solid choice. And on top of it, I think it's really important too that Bitcoin Cash is a pretty widely used cryptocurrency. So I think that's something that people have to take into account depending on the platform. If you're launching your NFTs on some platform that it's like one company running everything, that's probably you're making a bigger bet than you would with a cryptocurrency that has more companies involved. Just the chance of that lasting 10 years is not as high, I don't think. So I think that's something to sort of take into account too, depending on the project.
All right, so we have one Bitcoin Cash, we have Tezos. So let's go with Nate. What would you?
I would split the question into like 5 questions. I would say like, okay, so like you have what blockchain? That's an important question. Like, are you mainnet on Ethereum, or are you on some other like an alternate chain? Are you on Hashgraph or something that's different but has its own benefits?
But I'm not technical.
Exactly. No, I know you're not. But you're an artist, and you care about the longevity of your work, and it might actually matter to a collector in the future if you're NFT was minted on Ethereum mainnet.
Okay.
But then you have like the protocol, what's like the ethos behind that protocol. Then you have what smart contracts are using, and then you have like the platforms and the policies of those platforms. You have to like answer so many questions to like know what platform is the right one for you or how to make your own platforms. But the answer is, as a specific one, Rarible for the user experience if you're a newbie and you want to just get minting. But like the real answer to that question is so much more complicated. It's like in a year you'll be minting from whatever application you're using. The question of where you're minting from is we're in a period of time where that question makes sense. But in the future, you're minting from Facebook Messenger, you're minting from here in Zoom. We'll mint this into an NFT. They'll have a little button, mint it. Our credit card's already signed up. It'll get switched to UDT. I don't know, but it's going in a weird way where that question right now, answer Rarible, but future, I don't know.
I agree that right now, well, no, I disagree on right now. I agree that in the future, that it's, ubiquitous minting will be democratized. But for now, I say lazy mint on OpenSea. I like Rarible, but yeah, I would say because it's free, it's easy.
Yeah. For the cost, lazy mint on OpenSea. Also, I love OpenSea, but the usability is so high on Rarible. It's like if I send somebody to Rarible, they're not going to mess that up.
Yeah, OpenSea has great tech, but their UX is not as good. Their aesthetic sensibilities over there, their URLs, they're so long. Like, what are they doing?
All right, so
I would agree with Nate on Rarible's user experience, though, completely. But I think 2021 is going to be mostly about interoperability and asset movement. So which chain will probably become less and less relevant.
Well, isn't that the case right now? Even on the DeFi space, everybody's talking about interoperability, and not just even in the DeFi space, in the whole crypto blockchain space, the ability for blockchains to be interoperable. Now, as people work on that and solve that, what innovation do you see happening in the space in the next year, 2 years? I know you guys touched on it, but besides your own project, what are innovations do you guys see happening, and what should people look out for?
So I can take that first. I think the single biggest problem, I'll just talk about NFTs, is provable uniqueness. So I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, and innovation around that is going to be very, very important, because right now you'll see NFTs being minted more than once across chains wherever there are markets. How do you make them provably unique and make sure that the collectors are actually getting one piece of that unique item?
Sam or Nate or JT, you guys want to jump in, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think the biggest change that people should be looking at isn't necessarily a technical one. Yeah, I was trying to describe this whole idea to someone who doesn't pay attention to any of this crap, and at first they gave me this sort of funny face, like, really, people do this, and that's a fair reaction. Like I don't blame them. But after a few minutes of sort of talking about, like what's the fundamentals with collectibles, and why are people interested in this sort of thing? It makes sense. And I think we're seeing that happen right now. There's a lot of articles, and it's done by journalists that might not know a lot about it, so maybe they're not the best, but that's okay, right? And I think as people keep on hearing these different things and do a little thinking for themselves and reading about it, we're going to see this massive shift over the next few months. Like right now is this, everyone's hearing about it for the first time. If you go back to when you first heard about cryptocurrency, or most people, it probably didn't really make full sense right away either. Like you might have thought it was cool right off the bat, but it probably took a while of thinking about it for it to really click. And I think we're just going to see, this point where certain groups of people, they're going to have a large percentage of them that understand why this is good. And what groups of people will that be? Probably people that are normally interested in technology, gamers, computer people, the normal nerd stuff. And so that's what we're seeing now, and that's growing out really well. So I think in the next 1 or 2 years, yeah, we're going to reach a point where some of those groups of people that normally aren't even into cryptocurrency will really understand the fundamental ideas and just get it.
Yeah, on those lines, I think for the next year, it's wallets that people can use that aren't MetaMask, that are more friendly. Like, I don't know if Apple's going to do it or Android or somebody, but like, we need it.
Don't worry, Bitcoin Bay will do it. Opt in.
So far, my favorite wallet from a usability perspective is Fortmatic, because you don't have to understand anything. You just sign in with your email, you get a little verification code. There's a lot of friction on the sign-in process that you have to constantly do, or you have to go and check your code and stuff. But that is easy onboarding for people who don't want to be technical. What was the exact question again? The exact wording of the question?
I want to shout out Rainbow Wallet for NFT.
Rainbow Wallet.
That's a nice. Rainbow.
I should check that.
Yeah, it just plays some nice.
Okay, so the question was, what in the next year, what do you see happening? What innovation do you see happening outside of your own project?
Oh, innovations do you have? See, I thought okay, I misheard. Okay, innovations will be centered around whoever touches this first. So I would expect to see the music industry starting to do some really cool stuff. There's so many users of music, right? There's so many music playing applications. And it's a weird space. Like, honestly, until just a second ago, I didn't really think about it, but so many people are listening to music all day long. I would expect something fundamental to be changeable there, like stems. Like, okay, so every song is made up of like layers of instrumentation, right? So just the idea that the music listening experience could be changed. If somebody can nail that, that would change people's lives, because people live by music. But maybe that's a few years out. Yeah, to answer the question, I don't know. Things like funk, where you can start to do stuff with it.
Okay, so I'll give you guys a minute before we open it up. Each one of you guys got a minute. Just share what you think people should know and what they should know is happening in the space, how they should keep in touch with you guys if they want to keep in touch with you guys. And basically, yeah. So we'll start with Nate first, and we'll just go down the line.
Yeah, you can, I don't have a way to be contacted, really. I have so many different projects, and none of them are me. Maybe on Twitter, which I haven't used, I'll start using. I haven't used it in years. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll message you with the other things that you want. Nathaniel Wolf on Twitter, Wolf with an E.
JT?
Yeah, I think for anyone listening, I think the big thing to take away from this, at least what I would want people to take away, is that, yeah, what we're really doing is codifying history and providing this sort of new framework for doing that. And I think that's a really important part to understand, and it might be unimportant history or very important, but I think that's a fundamental aspect that I hope everyone walks away from this and says, yeah, that's definitely important. As far as getting in contact with me, I'm on Twitter with Block Party SH. I use the same username on a few different sites and services, so you can find me there.
Sandeep?
Yeah, so I would like to add to what JD said. I think in the last 1 year, both from a DeFi and NFT standpoint, I think it's just about building foundations. And I think the next 2 years is going to be crazy. So we'll have a really, really good time building some great stuff and making some history. In terms of contacting me, I've just left my Twitter URL and my email in the chat. So feel free to hit me up.
Perfect. Sam.
Yeah, I dropped my Twitter. It's Snackman. And I think nftmap.xyz is pretty good. Run around crypto voxels and Decentraland. I also dropped some roll tokens. If you want any of my personal token, everybody here gets 200.
Cool.
I didn't suffer from the hack because guess what? They're worth 0.
Cool. Now we'll open it up for questions. So 15 minutes of questions. Put your hands up, and Gaurav and the rest of the admins will be able to let you ask your questions to the panelists, because I haven't monopolized their time enough. And hopefully you guys will ask some interesting questions and make this 15 minutes the fun part of the conversation as well. Do we have anybody with questions? Gaurav, do you guys see Alwyn in the chat?
Yeah, we have one from the YouTube stream. So how does the NFT, sorry, let me start again. How does the NFT ecosystem handle copyright infringements that may not exist within the initially uploaded content?
Good question. Does anybody on there want to handle that? JT, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I have a thought on it.
Okay.
I think right now that's a business that needs to be made. There needs to be, the same way that you have people who authenticate pieces of art. There needs to be at some level some sort of central registry. It can be chain agnostic, but some people that you can go to and see, at least for the initial NFT. And I think we're just so early that those sorts of groups haven't popped up yet.
Can I add to what JD said? Sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Thanks. So the registry bit, I think, is a big deal. Either it need not be centralized; it can be completely decentralized, and having a standard really helps. Number one. So I think there has to be some set of standards that come into place when we start talking interoperability. But I think from a registry standpoint, I think we've given it a bit of a start. So we have an IPFS registry that we're going live with tomorrow, where other platforms within Tezos to begin with can actually reference our IPFS registry to see if someone's minted on our platform, so that they can stop or at least tell the user that there is a copy already on Tezos. So that's one thing that we're doing. So we are making that right enabled for others in a month or so. And then once there is some kind of a standard on interoperability, we'll branch out.
I'd say there might be some kind of relationship between like a design pattern like web crawlers and trolling like the media landscape for images. You probably need machine learning. Like this is like a pretty heavy project to deal with intellectual property when we're talking about. It depends on what part of it you're talking about. But so outside of the blockchain, you'd need something like that. You need like a way to connect media to the available registry of like things that have been tokenized and everything in that zone. And then you would need inside of the blockchain ecosystem, you'd tokenize property rights. So like you tokenize the rights to the image. And then the question of who owns what and is what rights come with a token can be clearly like indicated. That is where we have to get. If I have an NFT, I should be able to go to something, plug it into Funk or just in my wallet and see who owns the intellectual property list or what rights I have as a token holder, like explicitly. But yeah, outside of it, there's going to be a lot of questions as to where is my image being used and all that stuff. They're still relevant today without the NFT tokens and so many technical problems with working that out. You kind of need you need to bring in a lot of different people to mess with copyright, unless you just start thinking NFT first or crypto first and just build for the world that's coming. Separate those rights, tokenize them,
Okay,
and then put them in a wallet that's super protected. Yeah.
I was gonna say there's a question from Chris. Anything about the clean NFT movement from the ETH guys? It's not a hostile question. It's just generally wondering how they plan to deal with the energy consumption on ETH. This is from Chris. So anyone like to tackle it? One of the panelists? I think Nate is still unmuted, so maybe we'll let him speak.
What about Antoine? Antoine sometimes falls in the ETH world. Antoine, you there? Do you know anything about that, or? I guess Antoine is not.
You may show up.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't proof of stake? I mean, once they move to proof of stake, wouldn't that kind of exacerbate that clean energy situation, though?
Exacerbate it or
resolve it. I mean, once you go, isn't that the purpose of going? I guess in a proof of stake manner is, try to deal with that energy consumption.
Yeah, I think when ETH2 drops, I think it will just move the question over to like Bitcoin. Right now Ethereum is just the thing that's getting attention because of NFTs, but the question remains. And even if NFTs, or even if ETH solves the problem on their end, and proof of work is super advantageous for a lot of reasons right now. So I think it's like the answer to the proof of work problem is just like hold on for like 3 years, maybe 5, however long it takes for the Bitcoin core people to like realize that they got to figure something else out. But the beauty of Bitcoin and Ethereum and these like protocol-based systems is that they can be changed, they can be forked, and we can improve them over time. In the meantime, if you're like a creative who's worried about the your carbon footprint, if you were to like mint an NFT, I think there's a lot of misinformation about how much your actions actually influence how much work is being done in a proof of work system. It's not really your minting that's causing the work to be done. It's something that's kind of going to happen anyway, depending on how valuable Ethereum is at that time to the miners. So, like miners just spin up arbitrarily if the price is right. So to answer, like, just don't worry too much yourself today as an artist, but if you're a developer, get to work, help, but yeah, it's something that's kind of above your pay grade if you're worrying about it right now.
I'm going to be a little controversial. I'm going to say that the eco NFT movement is kind of concern trolling, and and that we're building systems to replace systems on our planet that are doing a terrible job at everything. And when they shine this light on Ethereum and Bitcoin and say that they're using all this energy, number one, we have an energy storage problem, not an energy generation problem. So a lot of this energy, guess what? It would have dissipated. It wouldn't have done anything. And instead we turned it into data. That's pretty damn cool, if you ask me, number one. Number two, I mean, these systems, like, they are replacing a world that is in the physical world. What is the cost of making a painting? Like with paint, what is the cost of producing that? And then beyond that, like, hold on, give me a second. I'll form the sentence.
Yeah, the ecological footprint of paint is crazy, or oil paints. Totally, it's not your fault. It's not your problem to solve, and there are people out there solving it, and it's going to be solved because it has to be solved. Sorry,
here it is. So Florida Man, right? You've heard of Florida Man. Florida man gets a bad rap in the United States in social media because he's always doing crazy things. But you know, the real truth about Florida man is that Florida's data is open for criminal records. So it's just that we see all their dirty laundry. And I would make the same argument about cryptocurrency because they can, and the statistics are made up. Also, they're not even, but I also support layer 2 solutions. We should be more efficient. You know, Nate is right, work on this problem. But looking a gift horse in the mouth like that, I mean, you know.
I think coming from a proof of stake ecosystem, I still agree with Nate. I think it's, you know, it is a problem, I think, which is, while it's being talked about and probably relevant, it really isn't because of just NFTs. I think the whole system is anyway. I mean, obviously, like Nate was saying, I do agree with him. It will take some time for systems to move, to change. But since Ethereum is anyway doing what it's doing, minting an NFT is not going to change anything, really.
Yeah, most of the stats about like how much energy it costs to mint an NFT are really, they're just using a figure that's based on how much energy you piggybacked on top of with your request for work, but the energy was being spent. So yeah, just something that it's like the flaw in proof of work, and you didn't do it. It's not your fault. It's not your fault.
Can I add in one quick thought too? Because I don't think it's necessarily a flaw of proof of work. Say it for right now, you know, I think the core argument for it, even though it might be a little bit misinformed, it's not a terrible argument. That hey, there's all of this stuff, and we're doing, you know, I don't know, some small number of transactions per second. Let's just say that in total, and it is a little funny, right? And I don't think that same argument would hold any weight if we had the amount of processed economic activity 1,000 times higher or something like that. It's a lot harder to make that same argument that way. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I just wanted to add that in. That's sort of you know, everyone's late to the game with really scaling stuff, and but everyone's working on it too. So yeah, you're right. It's the next few years. I think that's not going to be a problem. At least, you know, if you don't want it to be a problem.
Yeah, there's enough interested parties, I think, that will be that'll be more a very central conversation in the phase to come, because NFTs just introduced the first, I think, killer app of crypto in terms of reaching the mainstream and plugging into people's lives as they live them today via media. So as NFTs and crypto therefore become more present in people's lives, people outside of the ideological community, like cultural, like network that Bitcoin has and Ethereum had seeded, they're going to bring those questions of ecological sensitivity, and they're going to demand answers. And if they don't see them, they're going to build them. And yeah, so I see it as that this is the phase of the network that we're in. We're in the phase where that question is popping up because of the success of the underlying technologies and the platforms that have built on top of those. And so I think we're just watching the natural growth pains of something like this. It was inevitable.
Yeah, I think it is a question that will be more and more relevant, no doubt, and has to be answered. There's no doubt about it, because a lot of people do really concern themselves with it. And a lot of people, like Nick was saying, are coming into the mainstream. So it is a question that has to be answered for sure.
So we have room for 2 more questions.
I think we can. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Then we can kind of open up for networking portion. So anybody, you guys can network with each other, and we'll close the room at 8 o'clock. But let's take 2 more questions and we can continue the conversation as a networking portion.
Yeah.
I was just going to say go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think Vanessa has a question.
Oh yeah. I was just going to say, if anyone has more like if anyone wants to research more about energy related questions, Marina and Jerry shared resources and links to Bitcoin and Ethereum like energy costs and mining. I think those are the links are in the chat. So if anyone wants to continue researching, please have a look in the chat. People are sharing some great resources. And we're going to move on to Vanessa. I'm going to make you lower your hand and I'm going to ask you to unmute and you can ask your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you very much. I love the conversation. It's actually interesting. This is my first time joining your session, and great job on your speakers. And it's kind of really interesting to get an opportunity to listen to people who know exactly what they're talking about, because I feel like people around me, when we talk about Bitcoin or blockchain, is either you're for or against the Bitcoin. So it's kind of getting crazy. So thank you very much for this presentation. So my question is more on, so I like how this conversation is gearing towards, we're not really talking about the financial aspect anymore of Bitcoin or even NFT. So it's good that you actually consider the physical world. I was listening to you talking about the cost of the pain, because at the end of the day, we are in a physical world. So, but in the end, we are in a physical world, and we're talking about all these digital era, but nothing really guarantees the average Joe or random people to have access to the internet in the future, right? So all this can just stop in one day if we have like a crazy government shutting it down. I don't want to take the example of India here, because India is really well advanced in technology, but nothing really guarantees the rights of people of accessing internet. And is it probably the next step to kind of make sure that in the near future, people will have the ability to have access to the internet and be part of this and be involved?
I mean, mesh networks are really important to build.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mesh networks are like the logical conclusion of like the vision of a decentralized world where, yeah, the access to the internet isn't just a right; it's like default. So that's where that is kind of what will happen. I mean, when I hate saying like will happen or guaranteed, but I mean that's kind of, you'd have to somehow convince all the people that are working on that right now to stop. So, but as far as like what the nation, like the national governments want, yeah, that's about a healthy democracy and kind of really big questions. But yeah, you'll see that conversation popping up more and more these days. The question of, should we make internet access a right? And I think we all in 2021 understand that it should be. Yeah, so I just think the law hasn't been put up yet. Maybe we need like some Gen Xers in the position of power, or some millennials, you know, get some people who understand that you can't take away. People who were 14-year-olds when their parents took away their modem, you know, for their bad behavior. And they were like, that was the worst thing that ever happened in my life. You know, like there are kids who just live like that all the time. You know, we know that that's not right. So, yeah.
Let me, I guess, expand on that one with the mesh network. I mean, as long as you get a mesh network going and you get multiple people on that network running a couple of nodes, and I'm speaking directly from the blockchain aspect of it, anything that is built on that blockchain will stay there on that mesh network as long as the nodes are being run. So to me, that aspect becomes a bit better if it's more not decentralized, but the system networks are more distributed and it's layered over layered. Like the internet protocol is just layered over protocol. So a mesh network or any other protocol is just a layer that eventually will give you access to a more connected internet. So let's say myself, Nate, Alwyn, we're on a mesh network, we're writing out nodes, whatnot, because we were cut off the internet. and eventually one node gets access to the internet, everything that we've done, it automatically is going to communicate to everybody else on the internet. So our work doesn't die, but once one node gets access to the internet, all our works basically is propagated for all the other people to see as well that we were taken away from. So we have to kind of, from an internet perspective or access to internet perspective, you know what? People will always find a way to punch a hole through government firewalls, i.e. China, you have VPNs. So the development is coming, in my humble opinion. Anybody want to add to that, Alwyn?
No, I'm good. I was researching a few tokens related to maybe this. I think it's Theta and I forget the other one, Dent, where you can share your data using these concepts. And I was pretty surprised when Vanessa asked this question. So I'm in support of such a law if it ever has to. Yeah, and that's it.
Any other panelists? You want to chime in on this, or?
Yeah, I have a thought on it. Yeah, I think it's really you can really compare it to almost the drug laws. So it's a pretty low percent of people that are interested in that. It's like maybe 5% of people, and governments are completely incapable of that. And for the most part, it doesn't cause anyone much good. Almost everyone is really interested in information and being able to interact with the global economy. And it's incredibly profitable to be able to do that. So I think this is like the ineffectiveness of drug laws and censorship will be amplified 100 times for the censorship war, right? People will just know, hey, if I can access the global economy, I'm going to make an extra, I might double or even more my income. And something like that's really hard to fight because people will do, whatever they can to make a bit more money. So I'm really excited about companies like SpaceX, and there's probably going to be more to come. I mean, that might by itself really, really change the game as far as doing censorship in that matter. So yeah.
Guys, do you have one more question? Or Mike?
I have a
Danilo
newbie
has his hand
question.
raised.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sam, go ahead.
I just saw it. Does Danilo have his hand raised?
Yeah, sorry. I'll ask him to lower his hand and go ahead with your question. Can you unmute yourself?
Hey guys, how are you? Really wonderful to hear you guys, and thanks, Jerry, for mentioning me in that LinkedIn post and this whole NFT thing. Nate, guys, I'm really curious. If I was an artist right now and had a body of work, right, something that I created over many different years, I think Nate mentioned something about, this is how I talk to artists to explain to them what an NFT is and the possibilities outside of just saying it's like a music video, kind of like you have an image, you've got like a sound file. It's like, and so I think maybe this is a great way to end this conversation, is to somebody who doesn't understand, but is thinking of it from an artistic perspective, an expression perspective, obviously a new revenue channel, branding, kind of building and stuff like that. Where would you point them? Like, or what 2-minute or 3-minute, let's say, mentoring or advice would you give them, just to put a frame on, look at it this way, and then come through it and then start creating?
Yeah, that's a good point. The first few minutes, talking to people about NFTs, usually go a little bit something like, but why would somebody want to own a digital image? Like, can't you just copy and paste it or like download it to your hard drive? And then we spend a couple seconds, or maybe like 30 seconds, where I'd say the standard thing where I tell them, well, what is value anyway? We could have that, we could do that like song and dance, and it's all belief. But it really comes down to realizing what an NFT is. It's just a token. that can be passed between parties, and it can represent other things. It can represent multiple things. It can have multiple properties associated with it. It's almost like a philosophical primitive of like entity, you know? It's just like, it just is a primitive that is an entity. It's a thing. It's a clearly identifiable thing that has other pieces of information associated with it, maybe things. When a visual piece of art attached to an NFT is one way of looking at it. A music file attached to an NFT, usually when somebody releases a music NFT, that there's a visual attached to it as well. So we can see that music is actually like a visual and a music file attached to an NFT. And then it just gets weirder from there, right? You have like a sword with, and this is longer than two, sorry, but just the idea of what is it is the most important thing for a creative to understand, because you can go back to your archive of work and you can figure out how to tokenize those things and in the way that is being done today. But if you really want to continue your work as an artist in a way that uses this innovation for its maximum, then really just step back and think about what it is. It's just like an abstract lattice or node, like network of properties that are associated with something, and you can plug it into other things and make it do things. It's very abstract. We're literally grasping at just like the very surface layer of what an NFT is or could be. So just get creative. Like, I don't know what you got to do that, but weed's legal in Canada. But take a minute and just sit back and think about how weird that is and what could you do with it.
I usually say NFTs are to objects as DAOs are to corporations, like I did before. Then I say NFTs are digital ownership. I show them my CryptoPunks. I show them crypto voxels. Then I tell them that usually the story I say is IPOs for companies, they always seem like they leave a lot of money on the table when they open at a low price and they end up at a high price. And you're like, why didn't the company just keep that money? But they're actually just cutting in the investment bank that made their IPO possible. And I tell them that this is what creators can do for their fans with NFTs. And then I tell them that they're everything, yeah, I mean, and you should just go, and that you can code experiences. I mean, it's the guy, and then the conversation, it's a long conversation.
Yeah. The question, it's almost like the most important thing to ask somebody after they ask you what an NFT is like, how confused do you want me to make you? Is like
Well, or just what do you want to build?
Yeah. Also, that might be a nicer way to.
and then you give them lots of options, and then they go and they think about it for a month, then come back.
Yeah, for me, I like to I like to think of it almost as if the artist or creator signed each piece. It's something special. It's not just because if there's some NFT, I mean, what is it at the end of the day? It's some data, and that's basically irrelevant by itself. It's the real thing that people are interested in are some sort of story or associated thing, cultural cultural value to this piece, and I think that's what it's really solving. It's if you want to look up right now you can go on Google and view multi-million-dollar artwork for free. It's not that you can see it, it's that it's, hey, this is the you're owning a part of history, you're owning a real thing that's specific to some point in history.
Cool. Okay, so now we can kind of, usually if this was a physical meetup, we'll say everybody just network and whatnot. So this is a virtual world, so we're opening it up. You guys can network, talk about what you're doing, talk individually, share links. We have until 8 o'clock. Or if you still have questions, you can just ask the panel directly. You can ask us anything directly as well.
We've got Yan, Leo again.
Okay.
Yan, were you still wanting to ask the question? If you're there.
Yep. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm just wondering, like, just follow up what you guys were discussing. I think it's one of the key things that's going to move forward NFTs and the digitization of everything is going to be how we do digital identity and how that's standardized, because that's what gives the NFTs the value, is when it's the artists with their digital identity signs it. Just wondering, I don't know if that's something for another discussion, but I was just thinking about that when you were discussing the last topic.
The question of the, so the NFT isn't necessarily a signature, right? Because I could have a partnership with someone and they mint the NFT, we just agreed. So I may have never touched that NFT, but it may still be my work. The signature, if you were to think about it in like from a more pure perspective, in what it is technically, would be a property that's attached to it potentially, right? So I could sign, because there are artists who are creating works now that are coming from essentially origin addresses that they'll never have control of again, or didn't have control of in the first place, and they're going to have to retroactively go and sign those pieces of art, for them to technically be really signed. And there's going to be signing of NFTs, like, hey, check out my Beeple. It was also signed by, Miley Cyrus. So, like, that is a signature can always be applied to an NFT after the fact, just to distinguish those two things. It's not necessarily.
But isn't that what gives the NFT the value? Is the digital signature, the cryptographically, privately?
Yeah. I don't want to confuse you. It is a unique thing, so it does have a signature of its own. It is in and of itself a signature, but I just want to be very clear about what that means when we say that. If I mint my own NFT manually from OpenSea as an artist, I go on, I upload my art, I write the description myself, I fund the wallet, and then I mint it myself. I do that. I touched the process. I uploaded the art myself. There's a personal connection there. I interacted with it. If I have someone else do it on my behalf, like a gallerist or some kind of arts organization, is that still the same thing to the end user? And some people will have different answers on that. And the idea of just understanding that you may have an NFT that's a cool piece of art that's minted somewhere else and then is after the fact minted by the original artist. So what is a signature to you? To prove that it's unique, or to have been touched by the person whose touch you are interested in?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think it also kind of makes the point that I'm trying to or the question is, we need a standard, right? So that it's clear that, like when somebody signs it, it's actually that artist, or if he signs it from, like he has a rep that signs it for him, there's like some standard that says, oh, okay, yeah, I give my rep permission to sign for me or something like that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think once it's clear that the artist's identity is valuable and that it's secured through the blockchain, that people will have more trust in buying these NFTs and see the value. That's
so do you mean artist identification above and beyond just this is the person who has minted all the artworks that are being collected, like this is the address? Because I understand that's pseudonymous, and maybe someone else could, take it over.
They don't have to give away their identity. I'm just saying that, like, if they produce a piece of art, like for a string of like 5 years, it's always the same address or a collection of addresses that proves that the piece of art that they made like 5 years ago is the same piece of art that they made like last year. And it's by the same artist, right? So they can be famous, but still be anonymous.
Yeah,
but it still needs to be standardized, like so that people can have trust in the identity, the digital identity. That's what I think, anyways.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
I worked on a project similar to this, and it's mostly like half put together. It's a spec and sort of idea, but I think the core idea to it's correct. And the allowing anonymous identities is crucial. The only way that I think that can work, there can't really be like a for a real solution. It's not like, hey, this is definitely the case. I think what we'll see is a sort of web of trust, a distributed web of trust system that assigns rankings to different public keys or identities. And you can look and say, hey, I know a friend of a friend who agrees that this is someone, and this my other friend thinks he's a scammer, which what is it? And I think that's really the way, is to build up some sort of big trust graph of person to person, and everyone has their own subjective view of the network of who is and who isn't whoever. And I think that core idea is correct. As far as the details for implementing it, that's another discussion. But yeah, I think it is technically possible to have that. And
I think that Rarible and OpenSea, they're getting there. I mean, you have to prove your identity by proving that you have a Twitter account and that it's consistent with other things. So it's really early stages. So, but yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think the digital identity is going to be a huge thing, however that comes about.
Yeah, I was going to say Twitter is kind of leading the way here, like you said.
Yeah, Jan, the idea that the anonymity, I've actually been concerned about this, seeing this happen on platforms like Facebook, where they want you to use your real name, and if there's like disputes, people can be like you can be banned from Facebook, which is essentially where a lot of people's social lives or family lives may even take place. Or at least that's the promise of a platform like Facebook. And it's actually really destructive when, it forces people, for example, a trans person who goes by a different identity, has changed their name, but maybe not legally, and Facebook forces them to go by it. That's just for one person who that might be a problem for, but say you're an anonymous artist, or say any number of things. So we have to figure that out, because what really matters is, are you trusted? So digital identity, from the perspective of each individual, and a trust score that's defined by your own view of that network, is absolutely like a critical piece that I think comes almost basically next. It's like the evolution of the crypto space has marched in a very kind of logical way, where first there was like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, the clones, like enter the clones, like Litecoin and Peercoin and everything that's like and then you get Ethereum, which opens things up. And that was when the finance people and the law people finally understood it. They came, and then that was, the crypto space kind of got a little, I don't know, I didn't like it as much during that time. And now we're in a new phase where the artists and the musicians are coming in, and the culture is like learning about it. And then you're going to need identity. Soon you're going to have governance, where all these people have NFTs and they have tokens, and now there's things that they can vote on and choose the direction. So they'll start to vote with DAOs. In order to do that and to strengthen that, you'll see identity become a very important part of that picture. And then things really get weird when all those things start working together and DAOs become what they could be. So but But yeah, but that's the next step. We need that to get to that. DID. Watch that space in the next 2 years.
What's Banksy doing? He's anonymous. I wonder how he fits in on this. Like if he can pull this off on, like on Rarible or something like that, that would be something that would really get a lot of attention, because then he can still be anonymous, right? That's his whole thing, right?
I think the burden of proof should not just fall on the platform. I think the burden of proof should be shared. See, the whole central idea of blockchains or Bitcoin was being pseudonymous, right? Or at least semi anonymous. So I think if someone really wants to build a brand, they should really probably, like you were saying, should use the same wallet address even while staying anonymous. So there has to be, the burden of proof should really not fall completely on a platform or a service. I think the burden of proof should be shared, is what I feel. So that there is best of both worlds. If someone wants to be pseudonymous, they can be, and they build a brand by themselves, right? Whereas if someone wants to give their identity, they can choose platforms where, someone can actually verify that identity.
Do you know if Banksy's tried to get in, like done any of his stuff on blockchain?
I know that a guy burnt one of Banksy's prints and minted that.
And I believe there's a number of people who are posting original works as Banksy, like as an identity that's called Banksy. And there's a few people who are called not Banksy.
Yeah, that fake Banksy sold a ton, right? I remember there was a fake Banksy on which platform?
I think they were. It was Rarible or OpenSea. It was one of the big ones, obviously. But I think it was Rarible.
I think there's going to be a big thing that happens that everyone's going to hear about dealing with this on Christie's or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and it is 8 o'clock. So Leo, is there any final thoughts you had on today's discussion?
Actually, just wanted to mention that we are tentatively, the dates are May 3rd to May 9th, which is the blockchain, Block Hack Global, which is our biannual hackathon. So look out for it. It's going to be 5 days of interesting hacking topics. We're working on it. We're looking for sponsors and volunteers. So it's a hackathon. Block Hack is always a blockchain agnostic hackathon. So we expect you to reach out to us, participate. Again, it's May 3rd to May 9th. Basically, the hackathon conference on Saturday and the Bit Angels event on a Thursday. So we'll be announcing formally in the coming weeks the whole lineup and the process. So that's all I have to add. Did I miss anything, guys?
I would just want to encourage any artists or collectors watching who would like to communicate around interesting things coming out, whether they have something, want to work on something, or are looking for cool things, to reach out to me on Twitter. Just DM me or tweet at me or whatever. Nathaniel Wolf with an E on the Wolf, because we've got some cool things coming, and I'd like to bring people together. That's it for me.
Just to bring back Nate, if we can get like a testimonial from you, and you said it, you mentioned it before. I'm going to call you out on it. You said you were there at at a hackathon where Ethereum was launched. So would you back up any hackathon that's happening in Toronto? Because that happened in Toronto, correct?
Yeah, that happened in Toronto at the old Decentral House.
Yes.
On Spadina.
And just to piggyback off that, we will have Anthony DiOrio 4 weeks from now, fireside chat with Anthony, the founder of Decentral and co-founder of Ethereum, and Jax. So just to piggy off that, so pay attention to that or look out for that. We also have crypto and taxes in 2 weeks. So if you're an accountant and you deal with crypto taxes, let me know and I'll see if I can fit you in. We have actually one interesting panelist, which got a lot of content to give. So that's also it. I think that's, anybody else? I don't want to monopolize. Actually, also, if you're an artist or not tech savvy and want to do an NFT, you can reach out to Bitcoin Bay. We'll be able to help you, walk you through the process for a fee, of course. And that's it.
And if we get enough sponsorship money for Block Hack, we'll officially turn into Block Hack Week, Toronto Block Hack Week, or Bitcoin Bay Week, and we'll get the mayor to announce it. But that's only if we get a lot of traction for the hackathon. So we encourage the community to support us in every way. If you're not going to sponsor, come out as a hacker. We love to see hackers. If you've got an idea for an NFT or any other new idea, come out, support us, because this video will be on YouTube. So if you've got any comments, leave us something positive, and we will for sure take any positive feedback or negative feedback. Let us know what we're not doing right, and we can work to improve upon anything that comes our way. That's all I had to say. Anything else can be reach out to us at info@bitcoinbay for any other questions or anything in the space that we can work on.
And again, I'd like to thank all my panelists. I do appreciate your time, and I'll reach out to you personally to thank you. Again, thank you all for sharing 2 hours of your time and sharing your knowledge. Thank you all for coming. Have a great evening, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll follow up on the launch for you guys, for you as well, Sandeep, and JT. Also follow up on your launch as well, Sam. And again, I'll talk to you all, you guys, soon.
And
Thanks.
Snacks, why not keep doing your thing with the pizza NFTs?
Pizza party.
Party.
Buy pizza for everybody. Everybody here, actually, if you want us to buy pizza for you on May 22nd, we want to. Just go to this link, shops.rarepizzas.com, add your local shop that you like.
Fair enough.
Great.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Had a great time, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.